I've been waiting for this for... What is this? Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, it's time to evolve into your final stage, a god-dang hero. But to do that, you need to prove yourself. You need to show that you have what it takes to tackle the tumultuous tundra of Arch-Tempered with the quest Proof of a Hero, named after the classic theme of Monster Hunter itself. This quest asks you to take on Arch-Tempered Raidao, Arch-Tempered Duna, Arch-Tempered New Udra, and Arch-Tempered Arkveld, all their 10-star versions, in succession in the same quest in the arena. You don't have an extended time limit or extra feints compared to normal. You have to do all of it in 50 minutes with less than 3 carts, but it is in the Wounded Hollow, which makes that a little bit more convenient as you don't have to chase them around the place, and they lose any environmental factors of hunting them on their normal map too. For those wondering, my first time experiencing this quest has already been done with Josh. It is recorded, the pro and noob will be going up on the channel soon, but I've seen a lot of people struggling with this quest, and so I wanted to talk about it sooner rather than later. This is arguably the hardest singular quest in the entirety of Monster Hunter Wilds, and it has some unique rewards, even if they are mostly in the form of bragging rights. Specifically, it is this pendant, Pride and Joy, which is a little rock guy hand sculpted for you by Alma herself as a prize for succeeding, as well as this unique hunter nameplate, which is incredibly cool. A big Arkveld head with each of his chains blade, themed like one of the 4 Arch-Tempereds in the quest. I was going to say the 4 apexes, but there's none for Jin Dahaad, and one of them is just Arkveld himself. That said, today is going to be our guide to making this quest as easy as it possibly can be. It's not going to be made for like speedrunners or doing it in like 25 minutes like some people are capable of doing, because those players don't need the assistance. This is more just for people who are struggling to complete it to begin with and want help to get through it for the first time. So that is what we will cover. First up, just to say it then, to unlock this quest, you need to have completed 4 things first. Arch-Tempered Arkveld's 10-star quest is one of them. The others are the optional quests for 3 tempered monsters on the same map as each other: Tango of Lives Ablaze, Serenade of Scarlet Water, and the Wind and Sand Blues. Complete all of those quests and Proof of a Hero will be available after you've talked to Alma. You do have to talk to Alma. As for tips for doing the quest before going into the quest itself here, there are a few things to consider. If you want the cool nameplate, you need to join the quest from the beginning. If you join this quest through an SOS flare, even if you complete it, you won't get the nameplate. You will still get the pendant, but you will not get the nameplate. As for actually succeeding at the quest, think about which feast you eat for beforehand. A very large portion of the quest time will likely be spent against Arch-Tempered Arkveld, so consider your needs for him specifically. If you are struggling with staying alive in this quest, make sure you eat one of the feasts that has Insurance as a bonus from the food skill, as that is an extra cart without failing the quest, of course. Then between those, I would recommend either the Kanafa feast for Defender Meal, which is basically a separately rolling clone of the Divine Blessing skill effect, which can frequently save your life in quests like this where monsters hit as hard as they do. The other really good option is Azu's Meal for Tumbler Meal, which is 3 fake ranks of evade window. So if you're a weapon that relies on dodging for survival, as in one that doesn't do loads of guarding or loads of counters, then this one is a really solid option to take too, as more iframes combined with a purposeful focus on rolling through attacks instead of rolling away from them can help you manage a lot of these fights quite a bit easier. If you are super confident in your survival and it's your damage output that you want to increase, at least while the ramen feasts are available, you should try considering either the classic Tonkatsu ramen feast or the 100% Tonkatsu free ramen feast if you have a ticket. These feasts don't come with insurance, so you don't get the bonus cart, but Spicy Red Meal Attack gives you the equivalent of 2 ranks of Part Breaker free for 30 seconds after you eat a consumable during the quest. Part breaks can result in knockdowns, which are free periods to deal damage, but also when it's active, the damage you get when you pop a wound, the actual flat wound pop damage itself, is increased, and across 4 monsters through the hunt that can add up a decent amount. For the other one, you have a Spicy Red Meal Energy, which is essentially 2 fake ranks of Stamina Surge, which will increase your maximum might uptime, and that can add up quite a bit over the course of an entire hunt against difficult monsters. That said, I only recommend these if you are sure that you don't need the insurance skill, because insurance is a really big help for a quest like this especially. As for the quest itself then, before even going in any build that you bring into this quest, you want to try and fit in 1 growth jewel. This is a 1-slot decoration for the self-improvement skill that gives you increasing flat attack as a bonus the longer the quest goes on. For a 10-minute quest, it's not a whole lot. For a 20-minute quest, it's pretty decent, but it hits its full bonus at 30 minutes into the quest. And just like I talked about it back when people were doing Savage Omega, having super long quest times in the beginning, this quest is another one where self-improvement is super relevant as a relevant damage boost in a 1-slot socket rocket. It's a proper offensive boost with minimal cost. And with so many people having quest to finish times on this one that are literally like 49 out of 50 minutes, it's about as high value as you could possibly get for the self-improvement skill. As well, I want to remind everyone about the pause feature. This quest can easily get close to the full 50-minute time limit, and if it does, 50 minutes of straight hunting in a row can be hard for some people, whether it's hand mobility problems or maybe you just need a break to mentally refresh before diving back in. If you're playing solo, you can pause, so do not forget about that. Moving on, then, the first target that spawns will be Arch-Tempered Raydao. He is weakest to ice over any other element, but water is really not far behind if you have a better water weapon than you do an ice weapon, or if you just don't want to be switching around too much during the quest. Dragon damage is decent against him if you only have dragon weapons, but definitely far from the best option here. To make the fight easier, you want to focus on hitting the parts of his body that have fulgurate until they break, meaning you want to hit the wings, maybe even the tail, but the wings are the really important part because it disables a lot of his aftershocks on the majority of his attacks, and that's what I consider to be the most difficult part of the fight, so it lets you play riskier, which lets you kill him faster. Raydao is immune to shock traps, which is worth noting, but not immune to pitfall traps, so bring at least one pitfall trap with you for him specifically. It's not also the materials to actually craft more pitfall traps, which you could bring as well to get even more downtime out of this monster. Flash pods should ideally be saved for when he is doing attacks that might kill you or for the very start of the quest, so you can get a free down on him because it's hard to get the sneak attack when he's in the sky. And he is absolutely in the air frequently enough that you should be able to get a full set of flash pods while he's flying to get lots of knockdown periods against him. As well, in the Wounded Hollow, there are two separate patches of Rock Burst. This is a specific type of slinger ammo. I recommend picking one of these up right at the start of the quest so you can have it under your flash pods, and that way when you unequip your flash pods, you immediately have this ready, because Rock Burst pods are important. They are straight up flinches for monsters. You shoot it at a monster, they will cancel whatever animation they are in. So you can use it the same way you might use a flash pod as an emergency cancel on an enemy attack that's about to hit you. So you can just use Rock Burst instead. After Raydao comes Duna, who will spawn before Raydao fully dies. And this leads us to a really interesting thing that people are often missing out on, which is don't use the fence in this quest. The fence exists to separate monsters in the arena when there are multiple to make it easier to avoid you getting hit. But at least with these Arch-Tempered monsters, they do so much damage to each other, they do more damage to them than the hunters do to the monsters. So letting them hit each other is absolutely worth spending more of your own time avoiding getting hit while that happens. And that is especially true because of the actual monster order. Duna spawns second and is weakest to thunder element. Raydao is a thunder element monster, so Raydao firing a railgun that hits Duna will beat the crap out of her once she enters the arena. So if you can try and position yourself behind Duna so that Raydao is on the other side so that all of his attacks hit her, you can finish him really slowly while abusing the bonus damage he does to Duna. Duna is again weakest to thunder element as just mentioned, but also somewhat weak to dragon. If you only have a well-built dragon weapon, then I suggest just sticking to dragon the whole way through the quest, but the easiest route through the quest is if you have multiple different element weapons. And to be more specific, I recommend having one build loadout set up with either ice or water weapon for Raydao, then the second weapon slot being thunder, so you can just literally switch weapon on your sacred when it's time to pivot to the next target. And to be totally clear about when that is, the second a new monster appears in this quest, you should be focusing the new monster. Let the old monster die slowly, passively through the other monster hitting them, because you want to overlap their damage into each other as much as you possibly can. They will do enough damage to each other that Raydao will die very quickly, but the longer he's alive, the more he can help you with Duna. And that stays true for every following monster in the quest too. So if you have a thunder weapon in the second slot, swap that to the second that Duna enters the arena and shift your focus to her. That said, Duna is probably the easiest of the four in this environment because there's no water, so she can't create waves that disrupt your movement. She will still flip around like hell, which still does lots of damage and you do have to deal with it, but it's a notably easier fight than it is on her original map, at least in my opinion. That said, shock and pitfall traps both work against Duna, so don't be afraid to abuse her with those traps, or at least the shock trap if you don't want to restock after pitfalling on Raydao earlier in the quest. The next monster that will spawn then is Arch-Tempered New Udra, and this is when you absolutely want to fast travel back to the camp, restock your items, and swap your build. For your second build for this quest, I recommend a couple of specific things. First, you want one of your weapons to be water element ideally, and second weapon to be dragon element if you have those options. Otherwise, again, just dragon will do fine, but New Udra is weakest to water of all the elements. You want dragon for the final fight that comes after that though against Arch-Tempered Arkveld. The other change that happens here is you want this build to have 2 ranks of the adaptability skill in it. Adaptability makes it so that you ignore environmental damage when you have it at 2 ranks, and that's really important pretty much no matter the cost of fitting this into your build, because Arch-Tempered New Udra radiates environmental damage while it is on fire. This burns your health constantly just by standing near it. 2 ranks of adaptability disables this interaction and makes the fight significantly easier. New Udra is the one monster in this quest that you cannot flash pod at all, so it's here that I again want to remind you about the rock burst pods in the arena if you need them for defense. And just to mention it, New Udra can also be shock trapped and pitfall trapped as well. Like with the previous pair, you want to let Duna beat up New Udra as much as possible when they are both in the arena before Duna actually dies. As well, Duna won't directly do water element attacks a whole lot, it still will do free bonus damage that will help you out in the quest. The fence in the arena, I want to be very clear, it is a trap for this quest. Do not fall for it, do not use the fence, just make the monsters hit each other and reap the rewards. Then we reach our final monster, Arch-Tempered Arkveld, and this is where things get very intense, because depending on how the quest has gone up until this point, you are now doing the hardest Arch-Tempered monster with quite possibly less than full carts remaining, much less than the standard hunt time allowance left as well. When he spawns, I recommend going back to camp immediately and refilling your items, doing a proper restock. The timing of this is perfect because 1, as long as you aggro him first, him and New Udra will be fighting while you are gone for like a minute until you have to go back in before they start losing aggro on each other. And this will make both of them take loads of damage while you're safe at the camp. I have seen Arkveld's big dragon blast do like 20 to 30,000 damage to monsters in an instant if he uses that, and that's just a massive smack of health ripped right out of them. The other reason for this restock timing is you want to have full items for the Arkveld fight itself, meaning the combo of both restocking healing but also refilling things like traps, flash pods, anything that you might be missing because you've been using it in the quest so far that could help you for this last stretch of the marathon. As for fighting Arch-Tempered Arkveld specifically, make sure you have your dragon weapon equipped and running and then change where you attack based on his active mode. If he has his chain blade split so that there are 2 blades on each side, you should be attacking the chain blades. If you deal enough elemental damage to a chain blade, it will revert to being 1 blade instead of 2. This is done on both sides independently, so once you do it to his left side, for example, you'd want to make sure you swap to his right side blades instead. When both chain blades are reverted to being 1 blade, you instead want to focus on the head, or also the tail too if you're using a slashing weapon, and that's the basics of how to deal with the fight properly. Beyond that, just give him space. Let him finish his combos so that he won't whack you while you're trying to retaliate, and then punish when he actually gives you space. And I honestly find him quite a bit easier to manage in the Wounded Hollow than any of the areas he actually fights on the normal map of Wyveria, just due to the size and shape of the arena. One last tip to add on here on top of that, I know a bunch of people already know this and already do these things, but others definitely don't. It is use consumable buffs properly. You can stack the effect from Might Seed, from Mega Demon Drug, and Demon Powder at the same time, and same goes for the equivalents for defense boosters too. That combo of 3 attack consumables is equivalent to 27 bonus attack if they're all active, which is more than 10% of your weapon attack even with a perfectly rolled gogma artian weapon. The combo of defense consumables is 65 bonus defense, which is nothing to scoff at either. A lot of people do use some of those things for difficult quests already, but that's the value of all of them together. And the step that you can take past that even are might pills. Might pills specifically are for when you know that you have a period of downtime coming up. Maybe a monster has a tempered wound and you know you're about to pop it. Maybe you just flash something out of the sky and are running up to it while sheathed anyways. If you have might pills on your radial customization menu, you can pop it quick anytime that you are sheathed with a damage opening in front of you and just get bonus attack for 20 seconds afterwards. This is 25 attack in itself, but it doesn't stack with the Might Seed bonus, so it's effectively 15 bonus attack while active if you're already using Might Seeds regularly anyways, which is still another solid bonus. If you're timing out at 50 minutes, those consumables, and especially something like Might Pills for damage openings, might be the thing that makes the difference for you in the end. Also, another neat trick, mantles have separate cooldowns. So if you go to restock and the mantle that you're regularly using is on cooldown, swap to another mantle and then use that one. Then you can swap back to the original mantle the next time you go back to the tent. Obviously, if you never are finding yourself restocking, that won't help, but if you're going back to restock occasionally, or even if you die a couple of times, this can be a way to eke out some little bits of extra power efficiency from being in that position anyways. That's about it for tips and tricks for making the quest easier then, so let's just take a moment to talk about the quest. I have seen various groups of people complaining about this quest, some groups saying the exact opposite, saying it's fantastic, and to discuss this, I would like to harken back to a couple of older quests in the series. In Monster Hunter Rise, there was Advanced Those Crowned Apex. This had quite a long unlock journey, but it was a quest for Apex Mizitsune, Apex Rathalos, and Apex Zinogre in the same quest. Monster Hunter World, the base game, not the expansion, had the Sapphire Stars Guidance, which was an optional quest for Tempered Kushala Daora, Tempered Teostra, and Tempered Nergigante. Even Monster Hunter Generations had a DLC download quest called the 5 Kings of Destruction, which was the hyper version of each of the Fated 4 flagships, and also the hyper version version of Devil Joe at the end just to beat you down a little bit harder. Point being, even in base games, not even expansions, even the base games, this is not a new thing. There is quite often a quest harder than the rest of the quests that you aren't necessarily expected to beat, at least not easily. That said, this one is quite a tough one. I firmly believe that if you follow the tips that I've laid out today and have a decent enough build as well, you should be able to finish the quest, but it's undeniably extremely difficult. That said, one thing that I would also like to touch on in this quest favor is the health pools for the monsters. Not my numbers, so grain of salt here, but this player claims the Proof of a Hero quest has different health numbers on the monsters than they have in their normal 10-star versions. And the difference is very noticeable, so you aren't literally killing each of them at full power back to back. Instead, you are killing around 65 to 70% of the first 3 monsters' normal health pools, then about 90% of Arch-Tempered Arkveld specifically because they really wanted to let you fight him. Is it the hardest quest in the game? Pretty much just yes. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. Is it a bad thing that this quest exists? Of course not. It's not like it even locks gear upgrades or equipment behind it or anything like that. It's more for just bragging rights than anything else. So if you like taking on challenging quests, then do it. And if you don't enjoy that level of challenge, then don't force yourself to. That's my opinion at least, but it's meant to be the test of what you have learned during your time playing Wild so far. So if you want a solid challenge, this is a fantastic one to undertake. That just about does it then, everyone. That's all of my tips for making Proof of a Hero a notably easier quest, and I really hope it helps you guys out in achieving your goals and taking home that beautiful, beautiful player nameplate, because it is genuinely extremely cool. Oh, and a little rock pendant too. Don't forget about that little guy. I hope you've all enjoyed the video then, and I wish you the best of luck in proving your heroics as comfortably as possible. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.